Drums Alive members, I'm Carrie Eakins, the CEO, creator and founder of Drums Alive. In our efforts to bring you the most current, relevant, evidence-based resources and strategies for all ages and abilities, I am pleased to introduce the facilitator of this exciting webinar, Hachya Franklin. Hachya is a Drums Alive master trainer, a music therapist, and a trained percussionist who will demonstrate how she integrated her skill sets with the Drums Alive concepts to deliver a fun and fully implementable learning experience about drumming, rhythm, speech patterning, and movement. During our webinars, we always stress the how and the why we do what we do, and the research that supports and validates our protocols. As a fully participatory program, we encourage you to actively participate when you watch this video. It'll allow you to embrace the experience, because only by experiencing firsthand with these concepts can you appreciate the full value of what we are sharing with you. It may be challenging at first, but I promise you, if you practice, you will get better. Those neurological pathways will form and ignite, and plasticity will occur, and we will improve our skill sets. At the end of this webinar, I will share with you some links that will help support this program as well as the Drums Alive, other Drums Alive programs. So have fun, enjoy your time with this 3-part webinar with Hachya Franklin. Are you ready?
Hello everybody, this is Hachya Franklin. I'm a master trainer for Drums Alive, and I thought maybe today we could spend a little bit of time talking about rhythm. Rhythm, speech patterns, cognition, movement, drumming, all that stuff that Carrie wants us to put together all the time. So, I would like to be able to help, because here's the thing. When I first met Carrie, and then as I got to work with her, I quickly realized that she is masterful at the ability to take someone who, self-avowed, no movement background, no dance background. The only thing for me was marching band, and that didn't really count. So as far as, because I was in the drum line, we did a lot of elevator drill, so just up and down the 50-yard line. I was just amazed at the way she could take someone like me, as uncoordinated as 3 left feet that I actually have, and make me feel like that I could move with grace, that I could move with purpose, and that I could execute these beautiful choreographies, powerful choreographies, and that were truly empowering for me. And so, thinking about that movement is definitely Carrie's gift, I would have to say, for me, it's not. I'm learning, I practice a lot, but the thing for me, I guess, that comes more naturally, or that I've worked at, would be rhythm. And so, if that is something that I could share or bring to the table to share with other Drums Alivers, I would love to do that, and love to be able to help. When I became a master trainer, one of the first things that, of course, we had to learn how to do was lead the name game. And as you've gone through a training, I'm sure you've played it more than once. But something I quickly noticed was that as we would go around and I would ask somebody, take your name and just see if you can't represent your name with a rhythm. And inevitably, several, if not all, would struggle with that task. And I'm like, it's really weighed on me, bothered me, it's caused me to spend time thinking about why is that? Why do people feel so inhibited when we ask them to create just a simple rhythm? I know for me, when I probably starting in the 5th grade, learned how to use speech patterns to learn rhythms. So one of the very first ones, I remember, is an 8th note tied to 2 16th notes, and it sounds like do little, do little, do little, do little. The other one is the reverse of that, 2 16th notes tied to an 8th note. Telephone, 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 telephone. So then once I learned those, I can mix them and put them in any string of order that I would like. Do little telephone, 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 do little telephone, do little telephone, telephone, do little telephone, do little, do little, do little telephone, do. And make up a rhythm. That again came back as I went on and went to college, and I took my ORF Level 1 certification. Speech was a big part of how we taught rhythms and how we taught complex rhythms. Because when you stop and you think about it, speech is a very human experience, right? And let's just say if I just started keeping a pulse and I just start to talk and tell you about my day, maybe what I had for breakfast this morning, or I don't even think I had breakfast this morning. I had coffee and I had some butter in my coffee. You've heard of that, right? Bulletproof coffee. A little sweetener in there. But let's see, and then it wasn't until lunchtime. Oh, I had a turkey melt. I had Velveeta cheese in there and some pickles. I could tell you all about my day. And this evening, let's see, what did I have for dinner this evening? I had some yogurt. I had what was it? Coke Zero. So if we took everything I just said and put it to this pulse and tried to write this out as musical notation on a piece of paper, it would be extremely difficult to read, extremely complex, because speech is one of the most complex rhythmical things that we do, and we're all pretty adept at it. So I know that if speech is such a deeply human experience, why can't, I mean, it's obvious we can use speech to teach rhythm. We can do it in the reverse. I continue to use speech patterns to learn how to play rhythms, and then also how to teach others how to play rhythms. In the first place, I think that it was the most deliberate use of that was in my ORF Level 1 certification training, where we used lots of poems, and we would notate out the poem to a pulse, and then we would teach the poem to that pulse, and then we would, in unison, and then we would take individual parts and assign those on different instruments and body percussion and all of that. And so I really got some good practice at it through that certification training, and then on into my music therapy training. Of course, we used it extensively, but not everybody has that background. So the next time I guess it came up for me was when I went for my basic beats certification training back in 2012. And at that time I was introduced to these amazing rhythm cards. Now we'll say Carrie always credits her mother with coming up with this system, and I think that in its simplicity is what makes it absolutely brilliant. And so when I do my trainings, and I'm trying to describe this to attendees, I'll say, this is a whole sheet of paper, right? So the whole sheet of paper, we're going to call this a whole note. And this is a half a sheet of paper. It takes two of these, it's a half a sheet of paper. We're going to call that a half note. Then the green, and everything always goes back in relationship to the whole note. So how many of these green notes is it going to take to cover up the whole sheet of paper? It's going to take 4. 4 quarters in a dollar, or 4 quarters in a whole note. How many of the orange, if I pull this over here, how many of these orange do you suppose it would take to fill up the whole note? Of course, it's 8. And then how many of the red, there's a division line here, so this is actually 2. How many of these red notes is it going to take to cover the whole note? 16. So that's where we come up with the names for the traditional musical notes: whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. And when I saw this, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant, because they could have all been in the same color, but she chose not to do it that way. So when I saw the colors and then learned, or was re-emphasized how important speech patterns are, I just naturally added the speech pattern to it as a descriptor. And so I was thinking, so if I had a pulse going, let's just go ahead and turn some music on for fun. And I'll show you how I do this. Alright, so as a Drums Alive instructor, your first job, first and foremost, is to find that pulse. Alright? You have to be able to find it so that you can help all of your students to find it as well. Right? So once we have that pulse, I'm going to think about That pulse is actually the green, right? That's the green color. Green, 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 green. Sometimes I play it like this. Green, 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 green. I'm going to take you now to blue. I say blue, 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 blue. So I'm saying it with my words. My speech reflects the length or the duration of the note. Again, and it's blue, blue. Two more, blue, blue. Now I'll show you light blue, light blue, light blue, light blue. It can't be this, because then that would actually be green, right? Green, 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 green. So I don't want to have a sound, because it's a half note. Light, light, blue, take me to green. Alright? So the next thing I'm going to do is show you how I do orange. Orange, 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 orange. This piece of music is really kind of fast for this, but we'll try it anyway. And I like to mix up the sticking pattern like this. Orange, 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 orange. Right hand. Left hand. Alternating. Orange, 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 orange. Alright. Makes sense? And then red. The last one. Now you try red, 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 red. That was really hard to say. And I think what I'd like to say now is red tomato, 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 red tomato. Alright, so we can go through all of those colors very quickly. Woo, that's a fast one. Okay, but that's just kind of a quick overview of the duration of the cards and how I might add those, and then I can mix them up and change and go about in the music with those different various colors. Of course, the next step that we did in my training was she asked us then, once it was clear that we understood the value of each note, or half note, or green, 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 green. I might just mention here too, is another thing I like to do when I'm doing this is, as Carrie has taught us to teach, you know, blue, or light, light blue, then green. Those are what we call the downbeats as musicians, okay? Down, 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 down. So I'm actually clapping down. So when I get to the orange, the difference is we're adding the upbeat. So I like to show that as down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So literally I'm playing the downbeats, didn't change, and the upbeats for the orange. Orange, 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 orange. And then at that tempo, usually what I do for red tomato is I do alternating hands on the legs. Red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato. Okay, so I just throw that in there while we're at it. So the next thing we do, or they had us to do, was we had to add a movement. So not just a drumming movement, but a full body movement for each of those colors. And so like for blue, you know, sometimes they do a body roll, or blue, do a big fan out, or big blue, and maybe light blue is down and up and down and up, light, because remember we can only make one sound, light, light blue, light blue, light blue, green, green, green. I'm going to come out of my chair. Green, 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 orange, 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 and then of course red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato. Okay, and then I started coming up with this thought. Well, we're playing our colors. We're supposed to eat our colors. We can also play our colors. So then it became sort of this challenge. You know, Carrie is always emphasizing how we need to incorporate polyrhythms. So we do that in the training. Simple version is where we do the march around the ball. And so if we're just marching around the ball and we're playing green together, this isn't a polyrhythm, right? This is in unison. My lower half and my upper half are in unison. The same pulse, green, 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 green. But if I cut my hands in half, playing the light blue, and keep my feet green, light blue, light blue, light blue. Now what if I went to orange? So I have orange hands and green feet. Right? I can do orange, 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 What about if I said I want to do blue in my hands, green in my beat? Hope you can hear my feet marching. Alright, what if I want to change my feet? What if I want to do half notes, or light blue with my feet, and let's say orange with my hands? Orange, 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 or blue hands and light blue feet. I said blue hands and light blue feet. How about green? Oops. Yeah, that's it. I have what color are my feet? What color are my hands? So what if now I said, okay, I want red feet, green hands. Red feet, green hands. Oh! Da da da. Red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato. It's challenging, not only physically, but also mentally and as far as coordination. So it's a great mental exercise. Alright, but what we really know is at the simplest, these are really, as a musician I would say, or as a drummer, subdivisions of the beat. Okay, so we have a green is the pulse, and then these would be subdivisions: orange, 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 and red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato. And for the most part, they're just even rhythms, they're steady rhythms, and as long as we pair them in groups of twos or multiples of two, we're going to maintain a steady or even rhythm. So, you know, if I put 2 green and 4 orange, or 8 orange and 16 red, it's going to stay very steady. Okay? But if, and I don't know whether I'm going to take the time to put all these out here, but we can. I have 8 of these. So, alright. So like I said, if I pair these in groups of 2 or groups of 4, now it's gonna stay steady. Patterns like green, green, orange, 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 green, green, orange, 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 green, green. Okay? It's when I start to get away from multiples of 2, if I do just say 1, and then a 2, and then a 1, and a 2, or a 2 and a 1. Okay. And then if we did that again, another 2 and a 1. At a slow tempo, you're going to say, well, it's a regular rhythm, but it's starting to have a little bit of a syncopation. So this is green, orange, green, orange, orange, green, orange, green, green, orange, green, orange, orange, green, orange, green. If I was to take that one again faster, so imagine that if I had orange and 2 red, whoop, then we're getting into, so I have a 1 paired with a 2. Let me say it to you that way. I have a 1 paired with a 2. Now I have a 2 paired with a 1, and a 2 paired with a 1. So what rhythm do I now have? I have the rhythm I learned to say and play in the 5th grade. Do little, telephone, telephone. Do little, telephone, telephone. Orange, red, or orange, red to orange, red to red to orange, red to orange, orange, red to orange, red to red to orange, red to orange. Remember, these were red tomato, red tomato, red tomato, red tomato. Orange, red to orange, red to red to orange, red to orange. If I want to get more syncopated quickly, then I'm going to change. Then from multiples of 2. I don't really want to get too into all of how to create syncopated rhythms, because right now I just really want to work on the ingredients, so to speak. So, I was thinking about this earlier. If there were 10 of us, and we went into a large kitchen, and each one of us at a station had the exact same ingredients. Let's say we had some basic stuff like some water, flour, salt, sugar, maybe some pepper, and some butter. If I said, okay, I'm going to give you 1 hour, do whatever you want, use them in whatever quantities and ratios that you care, cook it, heat it, fry it, bake it in whatever manner, each one of us would come up with something entirely different. And what's interesting is not only would it be different, but I mean in taste, but in texture. If you think, you know, one of you might make cookies, one of you might end up with biscuits, somebody might make crepes, where somebody else had pancakes or waffles. Somebody could have even come up with, say, gravy or flour tortillas. And when you just think about how different all of those things are, I think that can help to explain how we can take these simple elements of rhythm and beat and mix them up in our own ratios, in our own proportions, in our own creative styles, and come up with something that's very different. And that's where, you know, the fun comes, and the personalization comes, and the creativity. So let's move on ahead here. Alright, so I wanted to use, you know, as I started teaching my Drums Alive classes, of course I wanted to use rhythm more. I was learning how to add movement with the pulse, with the beat of the music, and beginning to move my body in ways, but I still wanted to incorporate rhythms into it, especially as a background as a drummer. And so some of the ways, I think, I'm going to say there are probably 4 different ways that I think of, basic concepts of ways that we use rhythm. So we're either going to play, as an instructor with my class, we're either going to play in unison, all together, the exact same pattern, rhythm. We're going to play a game of echo, where I play something and you echo back something different. Or we're going to play a call and response, or called question and answer format, where I play something and then you respond back with a predetermined different response. So, and then the last one would be taking these various elements and rhythms and patterns and layering them to come up with something completely different. Let's play around with some of these ideas. I know with, say, unison, one way that I do this a lot with my senior population in my Golden Beats classes is we'll use nursery rhymes. So it's always just, it's fascinating. I can take a group of seniors who literally they're residing in, say, an assisted living or a dementia care unit, and we can rehearse a few times a familiar nursery rhyme, and then we'll take away the speech and leave just the rhythmical drumming, and people are walking around, people are stopping to watch what we're doing, and they don't understand it. They can't believe what they're seeing, because here you have a room full of people who may not even really know one another's names. They may be confused or really strong memory issues, don't know remember what they had for lunch that day, or why they're there, or the fact that they do live there. But yet they're all in this room together, they're all drumming exactly the same thing, and nobody is saying a word. And it's just like, like, what is going on? And so, for example, Baa Baa Black Sheep is probably one of the oldest ones that I've been doing, because they all know it. So what we do is I say, if you can say it, you can play it. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. 1 for the master, 1 for the dame, 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. And we'll practice that as many times as I feel like it takes for everyone. It's like I can tell everyone's participating, their mouths are moving, they're engaged in the process. And then I'll say, okay, so now what we're going to do, nobody say a word. Ready and play. I will. Oops. amazing. No one plays in the whole. We all start together, we all end together. That is the power of adding a cognitive device to a rhythm, okay, to aid in their memory. So that's one example of how we'll play in unison. An example of how we play in echo is easy. I would just make up a rhythm and ask them to play it back. It'll be like, my turn, now your turn. Dun 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 dun. Bum ba da dum, bum ba da dum. And I would encourage you, if you want to use echo, you might start with something short, like say only 2 beats worth. What do I mean by 2 beats worth? For the length of 2 pulses. So whatever you decide that pulse is, okay, then you might lengthen that to 4 pulses worth. Okay, so you get the idea. Then you could lengthen it to 6 pulses, 8 pulses, just always, you know, going off of what your group is able to follow and be successful. So we've covered unison, we know what echo is, call and response. You know, there are those songs out there, kind of few and far between, that it has call and answer built into it. So what do I mean by that? One might be, we always do Witch Doctor in our training, so like ooh ee ooh ah ah ting tang bing bang, ooh ee ooh ah ah ting tang bing bang. So the first part's the question, the next part's the answer, and we do it, you know, as a competition and all of that. But when you really start to look for songs that are out there that have a call and an answer or question and answer built into them, man, there just aren't that many. Not that I've been able to find. So when I was working with a group of middle school students, and I wanted them to learn something. It was a Drums Alive after school program, but I wanted them to learn some legit rhythms. And so I pulled on my past experiences of taking an African drumming class, and I used some rhythms that were specific to a song called Gahu. And they were kind of, you know, some more irregular syncopated rhythms, and I thought, how am I going to teach these? So I came up with a speech pattern for them. So I would say, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to give me the answer. The question is, do you remember? And your answer is, yes, I do. I say, do you remember? Yes, I do. Do you remember? Yes, I do. The next one is, you and I can, and I want your response to be, have fun. You and I can have fun. You and I can have fun. If I say, I don't want to, I want your response to be, you can't make me. I don't want to. You can't make me. Do you remember? You and I can. I don't want to. You can't make me, right? And I think the last one was go daddy, go daddy, go daddy, go daddy. Because I thought, oh, we gotta have a way to stop. Everybody stop. So it's go daddy, go daddy, go daddy, go daddy. Everybody stop. So now we have these 4 rhythms, and I knew that, like, in a performance setting, it was going to be way more impressive to mom and dad if more than, say, just echo, which that would be cool. If I played something and they played it exactly back to me, that'd be impressive. But how much more impressive would it be if I played something and they all responded back to me in something complementary but very different rhythmically? So that is an example of call and response. And then the last one would be where we layer things. And I've done this in trainings, and I've done this at conferences and things. I think the most fun I've had with it is doing like nursery rhymes. And so divide the group into, say, 4 sections. I think we've got a video of this somewhere. And say the first group, I get them going, saying hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1 and down he ran, hickory dickory dock. Get them going, keep going, and I start section B. Your part is, little Miss Muffet sat on the tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. And then that group keeps going, and hickory dickory dock's still going, little Miss Muffet is going, and now we're going to do ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Everybody's going, and the last one is 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. All for drums alive, stand up and holler. And so that is just so fun. Brought them in, we kind of did it like a round, and each group coming in and then going back out. So, and then we, of course, we had to add movement to that, you know, stand up and holler, and little Miss Muffet and frighten Miss Muffet away, and the clock struck 1 and down he runs. So there were ways to build in movement into this drumming and rhythmical speech pattern activity. So those are our 4 ways. We had unison, we have echo, we have call and response, and then we have layering. So we definitely need more examples and more activities, more songs, and more ways to use all of those concepts. So what are you going to do? If there aren't already songs out there, we're going to need to create them.